Good morning, colleagues, speakers, and all of our member companies and non-member companies that have joined us this morning for our Township Business Connect webinar. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Today we have a 2-hour session with industry leaders that have made time to join us, to impart their knowledge to you, our members, and our audience in terms of the township economy and the gaps as well as the opportunities, for you to be able to tap into. My name is Alicia Logan. I head up the membership department at Proudly South African, and it gives me great pleasure this morning to be in your company and to take you through the Township Business Connect session. Before I get into, the Proudly South African mandate, as well as the Proudly South African membership and associated benefits, I thought it would be very important for me to give a quick background into why we have chosen this specific topic and how it will impact our member companies as well as businesses that choose to, join the campaign. In terms of the township economy in South Africa is significant and plays a critical role in driving economic growth and community development. Some very important points that we need to be cognizant of, and I'm sure each of our speakers would add, depth into each of these points, is that the informal sector, often referred to as the township economy, provides employment for an estimated 17 to 20% of South Africa's total workforce. Townships are homes to about 50% of the country's urban population usually they face a very high unemployment rate. Township businesses are necessity-based businesses, and they tend to operate informally with low financial and employment returns. So the township economy is estimated to be worth approximately 900 billion annually, contributing significantly to the national GDP. So, spaza shops, a common type of township business, contributes as much as 5.2% to South Africa's GDP and employs over 2.6 million people nationally. So, given the statistics of this economy, we understand that there is still large opportunity within the township economy because, as Proudly South African, we a membership-based campaign, so we are largely in the know on what each economy as well as each sector is doing in the country. So being a sector that is largely untapped with great amount of potential, we thought we'd bring together industry leaders to come and take you through, the session and help and guide you into understanding the township economy, understanding the gaps available in this economy, and understanding the opportunities equally available to you as SMMEs. Before I hand over to our panel of speakers, I would like to just give you a brief rundown into who Proudly South African is, what our mandate is within South Africa, and being a membership-based campaign. I would also like to go into, membership and the associated benefits and how it ties up with the topic of the day. Right. Just see. Sorry, colleagues, my presentation's just done a run on me. Okay. Okay, so Proudly South African is the country's um, national advocacy campaign. So, what Proudly South African seeks to do is we advocate for the public sector, the private sector, and the general consumer to make a local purchasing decision. You may ask, why is it that we are advocating nationally for every sector of the market, including consumers, the general consumer, to make a local purchasing decision? I think it's very simple. We want consumers, we want the corporate sector, that is the private sector, we want government, that is the public sector, to make a local purchasing decision in order to create jobs. Our tagline, buy local to create jobs. So the aim of what Proudly South African is doing is to stimulate job creation in South Africa and to retain jobs in the local economy. It is so important, that we ensure job retention and create new jobs to really, mitigate and create opportunity that speaks to the unemployment rate in the country. Proudly South African is guided by 8 principles. And the reason for buying local is really to retain and create jobs. We want to retain jobs in the South African economy, so that we do not contribute to the ever escalating unemployment rate, and we want to create jobs in order to decrease the unemployment rate. What is also essential is skills development in order to create much needed jobs. We are cognizant of the fact that we need to develop the skills of the South African population. So skills development works hand in glove with job creation. Economic development, we need to develop our economy. We need to make sure that SMMEs, who form such a large part of the economy, is actually manufacturing locally or providing a service locally, so that the economy can develop, both financially and in terms of infrastructure and development. Improve living standards. Once we create jobs, we instill a certain dignity back into the population. And this is so important in terms of people improving their living standards in order to develop themselves. Infrastructure development, we've seen in terms of our membership base that, we have around 3,000 members that are a part of the Buy Local campaign. And each and every one of them, the minute they start manufacturing, they start looking for warehousing space, they look for production facilities, admin offices. So infrastructure development can only take place once businesses start acquiring facilities, premises for their business and for their manufacturing concerns. Increasing the GDP, I think it is, so important to note that the more we export out of the country as opposed to import into the country, we increase our GDP, and we rely less and less on imports into the country, because we become self-reliant on the products we manufacture, on the fruit and veg that we farm, on the livestock that we farm. So increasing the GDP is so important, and manufacturing locally, farming locally, and providing a business service, locally, is the only way in which we can increase the GDP. Here again, balance of trade. The more we export as opposed to being reliant on import, we then learn to balance off the trade and become self-sufficient as a growing economy. So those are the 8 reasons why Proudly South African advocates for localization. It's because we are really on country duty, and we want to be able to create as well as retain jobs in order to grow the economy, develop the infrastructure, and balance off the trade. We are guided by four principles, as I've discussed: preferential procurement in the public sector, local procurement in the private sector, consumer education to make that local procurement a decision, and access to locally manufactured goods and services. So these four criteria guide our membership, base, or guide the advocacy campaign in all totality, whereby we urge the public sector to buy local. We urge the private sector to buy local. We urge consumers via consumer education and a host of events and PR to make that local purchasing decision. And of course, we make available via our member companies thousands of products that are locally manufactured for the South African and export markets. Proudly South African is a membership-based campaign. The reason we are a membership-based campaign is because the Proudly South African logo is a registered trademark. The registered trademark denotes quality and confirms local content. It is therefore so important for us to make sure that the companies that we really advocate for. And when I say we advocate for, I mean our membership department, our marketing department, and the rest of Proudly South African works tirelessly to advocate for our member base. So in order for us to advocate for your business, to offer you access to market for your own business, and for us to work with you as a partner to grow your business, we need to make sure that you meet the criteria for localization. Therefore, we are membership-based because we have to take you through a strict vetting criteria that allows us to understand if you are truly a local manufacturer or service provider, if your product abides by the quality standards that is required, so that we can impart our registered trademark to you to be able to grow and diversify your business. The vetting process, within the membership department, we have membership consultants that take you through a vetting process in order to onboard your business as a Proudly South African member company. Very quickly, colleagues, we are guided by four key criteria. That is local content, quality, environmental standards, and fair labor practices. Local content, we are the country's national buy local campaign. We cannot onboard a company onto our member base that doesn't abide by the local content criteria that is required. So in terms of local content, at least 50% or more of your business must be manufacturing locally or providing a service locally. 100% would be ideal, but we are cognizant of the fact that not all raw material can be found locally. So therefore, we do give a little bit of leeway, but at least 50% of the business must be manufacturing within the borders of South Africa. Quality is a non-negotiable, especially when it comes to food products for human consumption, food products for animal consumption, skincare products, sanitary ware, toiletries, everything that could potentially cause harm to human and animal life is an absolute no. We need every single manufacturing company that is vetted for local content to make sure that they have their quality reports for every single product that they manufacture, in order for us to understand whether the product has gone through the required testing processes, whether the product is ISO certified, whether the product is SANA certified, or whether the product meets all the quality requirements that is dictated for the sector. Without quality documentation, without the right certification, membership is not possible. Environmental standards, also important. we want to know that what you take out of the environment you're actually putting back, and there's a circular process, and environmental policies is a good to have. As in most SMMEs do not have environmental policies, and this is understandable. But in this case, we allow you to sign a declaration, and then we proceed with membership. And of course, fair labor practices. In order for you to be a member company, we need to make sure that, as I said, buy local to create jobs. That is forever our tagline, and it is, the merit for which the entire advocacy campaign is based on. So, in order for us to create jobs, whether directly or indirectly, we need to make sure that we're creating those jobs in environments that abide by the fair labor practices of South Africa. So, colleagues, that in a nutshell is our vetting process, and each of the four vetting criteria is equally important in order to qualify a company for membership. As with any membership-based campaign, the membership comes with a host of benefits. And these host of benefits are the use of the Proudly South African logo, which is a recognized endorsement of local content and quality. Then, of course, we have access to market opportunities. And I think this is where, the campaign is really taking member companies from SMMEs right up to the tier of platinum and diamond, because the opportunities to reach much needed markets is one of the campaign's most popular benefits, if I may say. So first-hand access to tender opportunities designated for local content by the DCIC. So, Proudly South African has partnered with the Central Supplier Database, where our Proudly South African members, there's a recognition as a member for whether you're a local manufacturer, a service provider. There's a recognition on National Treasury CSD, where you stand out to procurement officials for tenders. Please note that what is very important, while we offer you first-hand access to tender opportunities, Proudly South African does not have anything to do with awarding tenders. Proudly South African has launched its e-commerce division. The division has sought to create access to market opportunities for our member companies. We've partnered with companies like Zulzi, Macro Marketplace, Take a Lot, Made by Artisans, BizMed, to name a few, and our member companies have been successful in being listed on these platforms with a lot of success stories. We also have joint promotions with Proudly SA consumers, targeted campaigns, major events, the Buy Local Summit and Expo, the Wine Expo, our partnership with DSTV Delicious. All of these, events are highly impactful and create much needed, quality, excellence in terms of exposure for our member companies and access to further opportunities to access the markets. And of course, as I mentioned, we have a database of local products and services. This is in the thousands, and the general consumer. We have made these products available for the general consumer to make that purchasing decision. Soon we will launch our MAP, our market access platform, for our member companies to, attain great further access to market opportunities as the MAP, program or access to a MAP being, market access platform will serve as a procurement platform where buyers would meet suppliers. So, colleagues, in a nutshell, Proudly South African benefits is really for you to access every part of the market, whether it be the township economy, B2B opportunities where you would become vendors of, corporate South Africa, opportunities via the CSD to work with the public sector, being government, and via our retail readiness program, you are also able to access the market via our partnership with CGCSA, where we create retail readiness for our members, and we take you to the listing process within retail. So all of this is the benefits that are there and available to you. And what I want to do now is hand you over to our first speaker, who will really talk to you about, building community-owned enterprises. As I've alluded to you, the township economy, is significant, but also it is a necessity-based, community-based, sector that I think our first speaker will really give you the meat into building community-owned enterprise through self-funding and stock-fell models. I think that is so important, because we always look at, conventional based financial models without looking really truly at the stock-fell model. Sorry, colleagues, I'm going to jump to our second speaker and then go to our first speaker, just in terms of, I think, speaker readiness. So we're going to jump to Kwezi Books. I believe Phumzile Mthembu is the founder and author of Kwezi Books. And without further ado, I'd like to ask Phumzile to join us to take us through possibly her book and more insight. Over to you, Phumzile.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Phumzile Mthembu, and I am very happy to be amongst you and honored to be presenting and sharing my business with each and every one of you. I will ask Mr. Tolo to share my screen on my behalf. I don't know if he's doing that. Thank you so much. My name is Phumzile Mthembu, and my business name is called Kwezi Education. We are focusing in writing books for children mind shaping. In our communities, can I please go to the first slide? I don't know if I will be allowed to say next slide. Okay, great. Thank you. In our communities, it is an unfortunate assumption that children are immune to the challenges of mental health. But let me share a profound truth with you that shook me to my core. The youngest person to commit suicide in South Africa was a mere 6-year-old boy. This tragic event opened my eyes to a harsh reality that young minds can bear unimaginable burdens. Next slide, please. Witnessing my parents' separation without anyone to guide me through the process burdened my young mind. I felt unloved, at fault, and all alone. The weight of these emotions led me to think the unthinkable, a child seeking comfort in suicide. In these dark moments, I yearned for understanding, for someone to lend me an ear. But my voice remained silenced. Next slide, please. When my own child faced bullying, it reignited the painful memories from my childhood. And that's when I took a decision to pave a different path. I embarked on a journey to educate children about mental health through the power of storytelling. Birthing Kwezi Education Pty Ltd. We aim to lay a firm foundation of positive mental health for children between the ages of 3 to 12 years. Our vision is clear, is to create platforms where children can openly express their emotions and embark on a journey of mental health exploration Through our carefully crafted stories, we aim to promote, protect, and restore their well-being, igniting a sense of hope and resilience within their young hearts. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Our services includes life coaching, which is focusing on building emotional resilience, building self-esteem, and self-leadership. The second pillar of our business, we are then having to sell our books, which is quasi books. In these books, we have then made sure that we address different topics. The first book where we are educating parents on how to introduce the culture of affirming positive statements. One thing that I have done within that book is to customize different affirmations that you can use to create such a culture or create a habit of positive mental health and self-awareness. The second book, I am then educating children about mental health and how to recognize different developing signs of mental illness. The third book, I am then unpacking the importance of creating safe spaces for our kids to understand emotions and know that there's no boy or girl emotion. And the last book, I am then raising awareness on the bullying happening in the foundation phase and how we can help our kids heal from such painful experiences. The color and activity book, we are then promoting or encouraging art therapy. Within our business, we don't only end on storytelling or selling the content of our books. However, we have another pillar, which is literature, where we have a center in Tembisa, where we teach children about, focusing on the 4 areas of literacy, which is speaking, reading, and listening. And we do all that within the township. The fourth pillar, which is special programs, we are then doing anti-bully campaigns, mental health awareness campaigns, and social drives. Next slide, please. We are committed in providing holistic support to ensure accessibility to our books. Our books are available in 5 different languages. This includes isiZulu, Xitsonga, Sepedi, English, and Afrikaans. This is allowing us to reach children from diverse backgrounds and communities. Our competitive advantage lies on our specialized focus on children's mental health, the emotional and educational impact of our stories, and our active roles as advocates and thought leaders in this field. Our books are not only entertaining, but they also provide a real therapeutic value, setting them apart from other children's literature. To date, our books have received positive feedbacks from parents, educators, mental health professionals. We've also received awards as a pen legend in Africa, and we have also received another award as a Disruptor of the Year 2023. Our team consists of 3 individuals currently, and we are also looking into hosting and conducting workshops and speaking engagements to further establish our credibility within this niche market. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. I've covered that. All right. Next slide, please. We are currently seeking access to market. With being a member of Proudly South African, we have seen the light. One thing that Proudly South African has done for us is giving us access to market through exhibitions, through radio interviews, and currently we do need more access to market. And we believe that if we literally get access to market, we will reach more children. We will be able to make an impact because this is an impact-based business. And we also need strategic partners and who can help us to access to market, and such as individuals who are in the educational institutes, mental health organizations, and retail channels. We also need individuals that will then say, we need to partner with you, Kwezi Education, such as Proudly South African has actually have the faith and hope and trust within the business. Your expertise and network can play a crucial role within and helping us to scale and reach more children. Together, we can rewrite the narrative surrounding children's mental health. Let us inspire others to believe that every child's voice deserves to be heard and every child's well-being matters. Together, we can make a difference. Local is legal. Thank you.
Kwezi, thank you so much for that very informative presentation. I think it's so important for us to actually confirm that someone just asked me in the chat box to explain the relevance of this specific presentation with regards to township economy. And this, more than anything, is so relevant because how do we take broken children, create broken adults that create jobs or business opportunities for themselves? I was at a forum 2 weeks ago where someone said positive childhood experiences lead to positive leads to positive, really constructive adults who then go on to grow and educate themselves and open up businesses and grow their footprint. So that is so important. I think children's mental health, especially in the township, is very important in order to grow children into adults that are able to break the generational curses that have plagued all communities, and children that are able to go on to educate themselves and look towards expanding themselves into businesses. I really love that these books are not just available in English, but are available, as you confirmed, in 5 different languages, because we need to be cognizant of the fact that we live in a rainbow nation, in a democratic society, and we need to be able to afford children the opportunity to be able to also read and learn in their own mother tongue. So, I think that is absolutely amazing, and you're really doing work that is much needed in the communities. We have, I don't know if there's any questions for Kwezi before we move on to our next speaker. But I would really like to, I'd like for you to provide us with more information so that we can share with the colleagues on the call today in terms of your books and your programs. I don't think there are any questions at this point. I think we can then go to Banele. Banele was, Banele is going to talk to us about building community-owned enterprises through self-funding and stock-fell models. I think that is a very important point. Banele, are you?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, lovely.
All right.
Thank you. I'll hand over to you.
All right. Thank you for the invitation to this very important conversation. I'm just checking if you can see my screen for my presentation. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, you can see my screen. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and start then. I'm going to start with the bad news. All right. So the bad news is government and private sector have been putting money into programs into rural areas and townships. And one of the most discouraging phenomenons that happen is scenes like these, where you see program failures. This is one example where government invested billions of funds into a milking facility, and this is all post 96, and this was in Ixhopo, and this is what is left today of the facility. And this one is more startling, where you see what was infrastructure before and what it is today. That is the bad news of what we're dealing with when it comes to programs that are funded by government and private sector and operated by the communities. So the question is, how did we then solve this? I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Banele Reo, and I'm an entrepreneur, a Grotman, who, those who do not know what a Grotman is, it is basically a mentor, but specifically a male mentor, which speaks volumes in the communities that I come from, where there is lack of visibility of men mentoring younger men. And the importance of that is, if we do not take care of the young men will go on to become a problem to the woman and also to the child. So I focus on mentoring young men. I am also an author, and I've written a book, which I'll tell you a bit more about. But if you ask me, what is my purpose and what is it that I think I do when everything is just removed, and keeping it simple, is I connect people to ideas that sell. And one of these ideas is my book, which is called Noma Yini, the mentality you need before you start any business. That book focuses on mental health in entrepreneurship. It also focuses on substance abuse, which, if any of you aware of what is happening in the township, is we have a pandemic of drug and substance abuse, whether it be alcohol or cheap to access hardcore drugs. I also focus in the book on professionalism in business. We do find people, young people, who are interested in business, but they do not know how to be professional, and they lose opportunities. And most importantly, I show them in the book how to start from zero to any amount. In the past 24 months, I started a social experiment and a social program where I built a business starting from zero. And I said, I'm going to take it to 1 million in 24 months. Today is day number 600 and something. And we've built that business. It has reached 1 million in revenue. And this is besides the fact that as a Stokvel, as a community, we've raised more than 2.5 million upwards. But I'm going to tell you how this was done in this very short presentation. Now, what we started with was looking at the challenges that we wanted to solve. And we looked at our environment. We looked at it. We looked at our challenges through the ESG telescope. And this is what we found. The environment in the township is that the township has a legacy of lack of resources. Number two, we have small yards. And number three, there is no agriculture. If we don't have agriculture and we have small yards, it means because of how the townships were built, we are unable to grow our own food. And then we looked at the social aspect of it, where We know that unemployment is rife, especially amongst the youth, and also there's food insecurity. Food insecurity is manifested in different ways, where you find a lot of our communities are eating nutritionally poor food because that is what they can afford, which then leads to poor health. And with poor health, now we are placing a burden on the public health system. And then also substance abuse, particularly around young men when it comes to hardcore drugs. And then when we look at young women, we find that they're indulging a lot in alcohol. And then we looked at governance. We realized that a lot of communities, even though they do come together, they do raise funds, but there is a lot of funding misuse. On the other hand, there is banking red tape where they are unable to access credit, or they're unable to access funding. And the lack of funding comes in two ways, where one, you do not know how to ask for funding. You don't have the right documents, you don't have the right structures. And on the other hand, is that you don't know how and where to find these funds. And then the last one was lack of market access, which our previous speaker has spoken about. And I'm glad that she is actually solving that, or helping to solve that. So these are the challenges that we looked at in what we went on to do. And I'll show you what we went on to do and how we did it. There's nothing special about this guy. His name is Petule, and he's growing seedlings. These are crops, and he does this in the middle of Soweto. You probably know this guy. His name is Sylvester, and he is a catfish farmer. Again, there's nothing special about him. And this is me and my team, Ekaya Sense, and there's nothing special about us. All we do is process meat and sell it. You probably don't know this business. This is Mzwake. There's nothing special about Mzwake. It is just a restaurant. But something really special happened to all of us when we built this aquaponics system. Let me show you something that you've always wondered, you've always wanted, and is in fact the future of South African business. Let's start with the pond. This pond is the sole focus ga Sylvester. Sylvester is what he does best. He knows everything about fish. He's even a national sportsman in fish. He takes care of the fish that's in here. When the fish live in this pond and they produce waste, that waste is sent into a filter. After the filtration system, that nutrient-rich water comes through into these pipes. And what are you looking at here? You're looking at seedlings. Whose seedlings are these? Petule's seedlings. They're growing. But the question is, where is all of this going to go afterwards? When the fish is ready, we'll be able to add fish into our meat offerings. I don't know if you realize what's really going on here. What I've just shown you is 4 businesses who are now interlinked to each other, and they are guaranteed to be the other one's customer. This now means, although it's a small scale, but we are at the beginning stages of creating and owning a value chain. For example, Sylvester will never ever have to worry about feed, because when I slice the meat, I produce feed for a fish. And when there's fish, Upetul does never ever have to worry about his crops growing, because the fish are growing the crops. And when the crops are growing, I never have to worry about how I'm going to supply what Umzwake needs, which is meat and crops. So this is very important in what we do. And of course, we aim to get more businesses involved in our relationship. And all of this is built by not going out there looking for funding, borrowing money, begging for money. We did all of this through our own stokvel, where we came together to build what you're seeing now and the future sharp. Thank you for that. And then what we identify ourselves as a stokvel is we identify ourselves as an urban, cultural, and enterprise development stokvel. Our formula is very simple. we start with a stokvel, which becomes our little bank. And then we come up with new ideas like aquaponics. And then we build an enterprise, which becomes the business that sells whatever it is that we are manufacturing or we are farming. And that is the solution we have come up with. We've done all this, again, without going out there, without bothering anyone. Instead, we have people that have come to us from the public and private sector, and they want to work with us. And that is the best way to get partners. You need to start on your own steam. You need to show professionalism. You need to show your structures, and you need to show how you are managing your own system first before you can invite partners in, or when they invite themselves. Now, what we've done here, we call it ourselves for ourselves township agriculture, which is a new idea in our minds. Now, we need to just look at what a stokvel is. For those who do not know what a stokvel is, it is a financial scheme where clubs of individual members contribute money each month for an agreed, often single objective. In our case, it's to start and develop small businesses that we own. What we've done in the video that I've showed is aquaponics. So let me just take this small opportunity to tell you what aquaponic is. Aquaponics is for those who are not familiar with it. Aquaponics is a system of aquaculture in which the waste produced by the farmed fish or other aquatic creatures supplies the nutrients for plants grown hydroponically, which in turn purify the water. That is the system that I've just shown you in the video. But here is a simple a structure where on the left side of the screen, where it says step 1, you see us feeding the fish. And then the water, it gets sucked out. As it's being cleaned, it goes through the crops. At this stage, the crops inject oxygen into the water, while at the same time they are removing harmful waste material from the water. Then that water is then sent to another tank where now the water is much cleaner, it's oxygenated, and then goes back to the fish tank. Now, this system, it uses a finite water. This system uses a finite amount of water, which means if you decide to start this with, let's say 20,000 liters, you will then, if there are no leakages and if there is no evaporation, you are likely to use the same 20,000 liters again and again for months. Now, we need to understand the power of stokvels, just in case you have no idea. Come again?
Yeah,
Is there someone that needs to mute?
Colleagues, can we please mute our mics? Colleagues, can we please mute our mic? The only mic that should be on currently.
Akukho kubi esikubonayo noma esikuzwile.
Can I continue?
Please do. Apologies for that.
All right. Now, let's look at the power of stokvel. These are some of the articles that are available online, and these are from very credible sources who reach different types of market. I mean, if you look at the first one, which is from Ipsos, a research company, they say stokvels remain the untapped human banks of South Africa. This is what our stokvel is, our own little bank. And also, when you look at the Financial Times in the middle there, they reported that stokvel savings increased to 9.6 billion despite tough economic environment. So stokvels thrive even when there is economic uncertainty in the country. In fact, you find that South Africans run to stokvels as a way for them to save money and earn from them. Now, how much is 9.6 billion? 9.6 billion can buy the whole Woolworths business. And then on the Sowetan Live, they reported that Stokvels need to diversify their portfolios to maximize returns. What does this mean? When Stokvels started, it was only just for burial. It was only just for groceries. But now, as you've seen with what we are doing, is we are diversifying into multiple businesses that are self-funded through the Stokvel system. They are self-managed, and we do this without risking anyone's money. When I say anyone, I mean government and private. When government and private sees how we are functioning and how we are professionalizing our system, it's easier for them to come and join us. In the last 24 months, this is what we have achieved. We've built a functional Stokvel. We've built an aquaponics farm. We've built a meat processing plant, and we've built a meat wholesaler. This was done in the last 24 months. You can imagine if I was a single entrepreneur trying to build what you're seeing now, it would have taken me 10 years and a lot of mental health anguish. Now, what can we do for corporates and CSI? What we do for corporates that try to join us and they want to either have an aquaponics system in a certain community, like in the case of mining companies who want to improve their CSIs, and they do not want to see their money being wasted. They are tired of starting one more vegetable garden. They want something that functions properly. Now, this is my last slide. Okay, this is my last slide. And this is what we do. We protect CSI investment from wastage. We improve food security in communities and corps we operate in. We develop sustainable food production skills in the community. We establish successful food security programs in the communities, and we maintain Can I continue?
Yes, please do.
All right, as I've said, this is my last slide. And the last 2 points are we maintain and supervise programs to increase the success rate. And most importantly, we provide a progress report. We have become, and we are poised to become, one of those partners where when government and private comes to join us, we are able to make sure that whatever it is that is invested in the all right, so
Sorry, Speaker, can I just stop you there for a second? There's a mic that it's on. Leseko, can we mute that mic, please? It's interrupting all our conversations, please. Vanille, I'm so sorry about that. I think we've managed to mute that person. Are you able to just take us through your last point on your slide? I think we lost you where maintain and supervise the program, and then the last point as well. Vanille, are you there?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You said my last point was maintaining and supervise, correct?
Yes.
All right. Brilliant. All right. So I was saying we maintain and supervise the program the programs that we come up with, or government or private sector, to increase the success rate. And we also provide a marked progress report. This is what we do to solve the problems which I've identified on the first slide, where we find government and private sector investing in communities. However, those programs, they fall apart due to the issues that are faced in communities. Thank you very much. Alicia?
Thank you so much for that very insightful presentation. Colleagues, I'm so sorry. We're trying to figure out where the, where the whose mic is not muted. We're just battling with that. I do apologize to you, Banele. That presentation was amazing. I'm so sorry for the disruption.
It's a pleasure.
We have a question. We have a few questions for you, please.
Sure.
So, good morning. Where can we get the book from?
The book is available at banelereo.co.za.
So it's your name and surname together, .co.za.
Yes, correct.
I'm just going to put that in the chat box. There's another question. There's a compliment, great presentation. There's one asking, in terms of
Sure.
in terms of the stokvel, can member companies reach out to you to be guided by, being a part of the stokvel, or is it a closed, stokvel amongst just your community?
Currently, we are already closed, and our stokvel is sitting at about 500 members already. So we've closed that because we've reached what we set out to do, and now we have a functioning business that is going forward. However, we are going to be looking at starting another stokvel to focus on another business, because this is essentially what we do. I personally, my focus is to establish these stokvels that are able to fund and support businesses. And it's way better when the actual business that we go into is run by a stokvel member.
Thank you. The next question, please, can you provide contact details for yourself, just so that we can reach out to you for future in terms of stokvel? Are you
Okay.
able to, do you want us to share your details with the participants?
Correct. You can do so.
All right. Then there's another question. In terms of the stokvel, when one becomes a part of a stokvel, okay, I'm just trying to understand what's being, okay. So when one becomes part of a stokvel, is there only a specific sector that they can open up businesses in, or does the stokvel dictate the sector that they can open a business in?
Our stokvel, we decide what we want to do. So it's not open to say, you can come in and suggest that you want to start a business in a certain industry, and just like any funding organ, we can think about it, but we are not a funding organization for businesses outside of what we do.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Okay. Someone's asking Great presentation. Are you able to share the presentation, or is there a link to the presentation?
I will share the presentation.
All right, perfect. The other question is, hi, Anisha. So this participant would like to know if all of your business are strictly funded by Stokvel and not by conventional financial models.
100%. They are funded by our own Stokvel.
And then I see one other question, please. Okay, yes, okay. Can they have your recording? Okay, we'll share that. Then they asked your opinion on oh gosh, I can't understand this one. Oh yes, okay. Your opinion on conventional banking financial models. Do you think SMMEs, specifically in the township, should go that route?
My opinion
Mhm.
has already been expressed by me
This one,
establishing a Stokvel, because
yeah.
when it comes to conventional banking systems, what a lot of entrepreneurs do not understand, they think that banks are altruistic. Banks are not altruistic, even though they say that in
Yeah.
their marketing. However, banks are businesses. Their core business is to make profit. Now, this affects entrepreneurs who need finance, but they are faced with high interest charges and cost. And also, on the part of on the part of the entrepreneurs, is they do not have the correct education in most cases and the resources. One of the biggest things that is ignored by conventional banking systems is that if you decide to quit your job and you go into entrepreneurship, chances are, probably 99%, you're going to end up being in debt in one way or the other. And that then is going to stay in your record for 2 years, which means even if your business is showing some potential, it will affect you that you were once in debt. And then it means that a lot of entrepreneurs do not access credit. And this is because of just how the banking system is made to be in terms of vetting who has affordability. However, it is very archaic, it is very old, and I implore other businesses and entrepreneurs to go into considering starting their own Stokvel with the very customers that buy their products. And you do not have to make your Stokvel members directors in the company. You can go into a profit sharing agreement with the Stokvel. So the Stokvel members do not go into the company and become directors. They just become a group of what you will call your little bank. Any money that you get from them is a loan, and that's how they get their ROI. You can then discuss what is possible in terms of the interest that you're going to pay back.
Understand. Can I ask you, Benele and Pumzile from Kwezi Books too, are you going to be staying on the line? Because we're going to have our next speaker now, but I see there's a lot of questions, and maybe after our next speaker, we can take more questions.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I have a shoot at 12 in Soweto. So I will stay until maybe 11:30. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Okay, so colleagues, I'm going to bring in our next speaker, Mbali Motseneng from Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator. Mbali, welcome. I know you're going to share some valuable information, especially geared towards youth employment. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation. So I'm just going to bring up my presentation and you'll let me know if you can see it, please. Are you able to see it on your end?
Yes, I'm able to see it.
Okay, perfect. Firstly, thank you to the Proudly SA team for inviting me, and it's been such a great pleasure to listen to the fellow panelists. Very insightful knowledge and experience that they're sharing regarding township businesses. So just to give you a background, for those who don't know, Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator is a social enterprise that was really created to address the issue of youth unemployment in South Africa. And we don't do this work alone because we understand that you need to have different ecosystem enablers putting their hands together to address the issue that we have. And so we work closely with private sector, with public sector, as well as civil society and other organizations that do want to have a hand in addressing this crisis of youth unemployment in South Africa. We do have offices in South Africa, but we also do have an office in Rwanda where we're supporting in that country. So, in regards to the topic of the informal economy and also businesses that exist within the township area, for us, this is a key area to look at in terms of how do we create additional earning pathways for young people. So, one thing that we appreciate as a social enterprise is that you have businesses that will operate with or without our support within the township areas. And that is fantastic because it shows the potential of that market. But also, what we do recognize is that if we are to support young people in terms of gaining economic opportunities and earning pathways, we need to think beyond the formal economy. So most of our work has really been on inclusive employment. How do we get employers to really support young people in terms of getting jobs in the formal economy? But my portfolio focuses on young people being able to earn their own money. So how do you make your own money and how do you also survive within the township business area? So if you think about the stats of South Africa and what the labor market looks like, we've got about 1 million young people entering into the labor market every year. And what happens is that not all of those young people will be able to find a job. And so what is critical for us is also to start talking to partners about how do we ensure that young people are able to see the opportunities of starting your own business, but also learning from businesses that are already thriving within the township spaces, but then also playing a role in order to enable those businesses to continue operating. And one of the key challenges that Banele and Kwezi have probably alluded to already is the fact that these businesses, for them to thrive, there is a lot of infrastructure that's required. And when you're talking about land, if you want to open up a gardening business or also tackling food insecurities, but also who are those ecosystem enablers that will fund this infrastructure, that will fund the growth or the start of these businesses. And so our focus at Harambee is really to start encouraging young people to start hustling and to start their own businesses, whichever terminology that they associate themselves with. But then when they are in those businesses that they don't earn precarious earnings. And so what we mean by this is that when a young person is starting their own business and they're working alone in those businesses or they get support from family and friends, those earnings are not stable in the sense that some months you may make high profits and some you don't. So we're trying to have a key understanding of where are those products and markets and services where young people can actually focus their businesses on and also increase their earnings. And we want to do that and continue doing that work with partners within the ecosystem. So our whole role is how do we partner with the right people for young people to start businesses, to earn sustainable incomes, but also to be able to employ other young people within their businesses. And so to paint a picture of
Mbali, sorry, Mbali. I just, sorry to break your word. I just want to find out, are you still on the first slide or have you moved?
I've moved.
It's not moving on our side. We're only able to see. Okay, now it's moving.
Oh, now it's moving. Okay, I'll present it
Oh,
again.
it stopped sharing now.
Okay, I'll just put it up again.
Mhm.
Just let me know. Let me see. Can you see the enterprise ladder on your end?
Correct. Okay, we're fine now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll mention when I move it to the next slide, and I hope it continues to move. Otherwise, I'll just speak freely. And so, in the work that we do, we kind of use this depiction as what the journey looks like to be a business owner. And so with regards to where we've been supporting young people is really looking at this ladder and saying that majority of the young people in the township spaces that we're working with, there are young people that are excluded. And so majority of their business activities are really focused on hustle. So a young person will braid hair, will start a tuck shop, will then close it, and they will start, they really just zigzag between different hustles that essentially enable them to start earning their own money. What is great about this is that it helps us to gain an understanding that there is an interest, but then a lot of those entrepreneurs or self enterprises, they don't really last because young people are really not able to gain access to the right capital, or they're not able to register their businesses, or they're not able to see where their product will fit a specific market. So we're really trying to support them and enable them through that process. And at the end life, we really want to enable them to a point whereby their businesses are sustainable and we don't have to intervene at every given point. But right now, this is where most of the support lies. And another lever of this is that we work with partners. And so, how we work with partners is that we've got two types of partners that we really key on focusing on making your own money. So you've got SMMEs that Banela has spoken about. They open up in the townships and they are successful, they're well known, and they have buy-in within communities. How do we partner with those specific SMMEs to help young people to gain access to that market? And so we look at those partners that are absorbing that risk in the township business space and then enabling young people to get into gig opportunities. And hopefully with that approach, a young person will essentially have a taste of what entrepreneurship looks like and where support is. And essentially, that's the ladder that we're kind of looking at in terms of where we want to take young people. And as I've said, we're focusing on being inclusive and also helping the most excluded young people within the township area, but also within the city and urban areas. I'm changing my slide now. Can you see that?
No, it's not moving.
Okay, so I'm just going to speak freely. That's okay. So
Sure.
maybe,
Okay.
yeah. So speaking about what are the key things that we are looking for in terms of our vision with helping young people to make their own money, we understand that the formal economy is a critical lever for creating jobs within South Africa, but we also have to look at how do we leverage informal jobs and opportunities and livelihoods. And when we say informal, we're meaning that there are a lot of businesses within the township space that are not registered, and that's okay because what it means is that people are not able to gain access to opportunities in the formal space, so they start their own businesses. And something that is enlightening is that the informal economy is quite friendly to people because it has low barriers, and so we are trying to enable those people to keep that safety net and then also enable them to grow those businesses, meaning that you would probably have to formalize. So what kind of support and scaffolding do you need from being an informal business to also being a formal business? And really the key vision is fourfold: support a young person to start earning, unlock demand for them to make their own money. So meaning that show them which product, market, or service works and where the profits are probably, or revenues would be higher. The third is that once you've started your own business as a young person, how do we enable you to be bankable? So you get your profits from your business, but where are you saving them and where are you investing your money? Do you have the right infrastructure? How do you build collateral so that you can start growing your business and start borrowing and lending either from formal traditional businesses or from fintechs? And so we really try to show you the spectrum of what kind of support and journey you can have. And last but not least, once you've grown as an SMME, part of growing and scaling your business is also seeing which other value chains beyond the township space would you like to service. Maybe your ambition is to start serving within the urban areas. So part of Harambe's network of enablers includes partners that are in the formal economy. So we're having conversations about what does inclusive procurement looks like. So for example, a big retailer, are they able to, take some of their products from township business, and how do we make that connect for young people? And then in closing, Harambe's role in South Africa's national youth employment strategy is that we work with various partners. Strategic partners that we work with include the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative. And as you know that the presidency has a has a strategy to reduce unemployment, which is the PYEI. And so we are part of that ecosystem. we host the tech platform called sayouth.mobi, which is a zero-rated platform that has over 4 million young people in South Africa who are connected to employment partners, over 2,000 of them. And part of those employment partners, they would create opportunities for young people either to find a job or to gain access to a public employment opportunity. And last but not least, to gain access to make your own money opportunities, which is a portfolio that I run, which enables young people that want to start or to scale their self-enterprises. And so maybe this is in closing. For us, youth unemployment is a huge issue for Harambee. And so we want to be able to contribute by working with partners across the ecosystem. And it's been a great pleasure to also, share on this platform, and happy to get any additional feedback or comments and questions from the panel, but also the audience.
Mbali, thank you so much for that presentation. Really appreciate it. There's a lot of questions. I think what we're going to do, maybe get through the speakers. Benele, I know that you need to leave. So what we're going to do, if we're going to ask for you to share the presentation, and then maybe to be as we share your details, maybe to be, you can, share more information, because all of the questions is around the stock file.
Okay, I'll stay until, let's say 12.
All right. That's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for accommodating. Colleagues, we go to our next speaker from Salga, who's going to talk about strategic procurement as an enabler of local economic development. I hand over to, okay, I'm going to pronounce this name, and I don't want any criticism, please. Kaitishwe. Hopefully that's correct.
Morning, colleagues. Can you hear me?
You are audible, yes, thank you.
Actually, I'm laughing here.
Please don't. I'm gonna.
You're mesmerizing my name.
Leseko said I must call you Mr. G.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Colleagues, don't worry. I always tell people that I knew how to write my name properly when I was at sub B, so it's fine. My name is Khaitijwe Letlaku is my name, employed by South African Local Government Association based in Gauteng. Just want to check if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, we're able to see the screen. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Maybe I must two comments. I must really appreciate the presenters that came before me. Harambee with the partnerships is really indeed a key milestone that we need to recognize. To Phumzile, especially what I would like to share is we do not have any books that is written in our African languages in economics, business development, and finances, yet we are then expected to compete with the world, and these books has been translated in other languages that are also foreign to us. Big up to Phumzile and Banele, the last one. I think you really, my brother, you hit it the nail on the coffin, and from the local government sector. We're not going to hide and shield the blame. We're going to accept the responsibility that perhaps number of projects from government, they lacked the element of sustainability, they lacked the element of participation. Perhaps we failed dismally on the participation, hence people cannot therefore associate themselves with number of projects that government are building. Some of them were intended for to be an economic enabler. So I think that is highly noted, and your video and the stock fair I think that need to be applauded. You really resemble the importance of circulating the value, the rent, and uplifting the value of the rent within the community and create our own convenience. I think you are spot on. Madam Chair, I'm going to be very short. We're going to focus on 4 key areas, but what we want to start with is the section 152 of the Constitution that gives or mandate the local government mandate to promote social and economic development. However, when you go to the white paper, local government, including other 2 spheres of government, they are not directly responsible for creating jobs, but rather to create an enabling environment. And part of what Banele was touching on is the question that we always ask ourselves is whether the plethora of legislation and policies that we have, are they developmental in nature, or are they punitive, or they create punitive measures when we execute them? You recall few years back, I think 2-3 years, there was a gentleman in Pretoria, Tshwane, who identified an open space and start a vegetable garden, your urban agriculture, and he was punished by the same law that says we must protect the environment. So it's something that we need to do. So we must also acknowledge that we are living in an unequal society. South Africa is very unequal. On your left, there's that famous picture that depicts, it's not necessarily Alexander's sentence, but it depicts many setups in South Africa that 20 years, 30 years of democracy, we failed dismally to achieve spatial transformation. The spatial transformation is still there. We also failed to uplift the businesses, particularly the business that take place in our own neighborhood. So quick one, these are the mandate of local government. Need to provide energy, water, sanitation, waste management, governance, and urban management and partnership. But when you go back to chapter 1, section 152 of the Constitution, it says we need to form a formidable force with local communities to find solution. So these are the challenges that we are facing, even if the local government is trying to create a platform where we can dump the waste and having the trucks to collect the waste, but we still have the picture on your right that is not healthy, is not beautiful. When the investors come and they see these pictures, it scares them away that South Africa is unfilthy, is not investor friendly, because our environment therefore pushes the investors away. So what we are dealing with here in South Africa and Africa, we are dealing with an even field because as South Africa, we emerged from colonization to apartheid. Now we're in democracy. To level the playing field is quite a huge task that requires all of us. It requires civil society, business, and government, everyone, to create a playing field for us to play a fair and equal game in the economy. So that is a huge task that we all need to deal with. So our argument as SALGA is municipalities, we have power in our own hand to contribute and change the face of the entrepreneurs, particularly in our townships and in our rural areas. One is through the SCM, the supply chain management. Policies must be deliberate in uplifting our SMMEs in our township and rural areas. we need to change our SCM. What we have found as SALGA is that actually the SCM comes at the tail end. You plan and allocate the budget, but the SCM come at the tail end to go and source the 3 quotations. But we're saying it's not working because we see same companies rotating in different municipalities, in different government departments, but we're not sharing the slice of cake equally. But we're saying the supply chain management of policy, at least from local government, must be deliberate and say, we have X number of services that we are going to require in this particular financial year. Therefore, municipality must make that determination that, for example, if you want to build a road for 60 kilometers, municipality must be deliberate in the specifications and policies to say all the requirements must be sourced local. Before you go outside the jurisdiction of a municipality, you must have exonerated all avenues to show that the cement, you cannot find the cement in the city of Johannesburg from all 7 regions. You cannot find a particular cement, or you cannot find a water tanker to assist as an enabler to build that road. We must go through that route. But if the policies are silent when able to achieve that, according to the National Treasury, we are contributing about 50 billion to local suppliers, and this is the money that is sitting with the municipalities. It's not the city of Johannesburg, 257 municipalities. If we are combined, we have about 50 billion that we can spend on local suppliers and uplift the SMMEs. One is to promote inclusive growth, because if we follow the news and the speech by the premier, part of the 7th administration priority is inclusive economy. But it cannot be inclusive economy if the procurement is not dealt with, is not properly managed to accommodate the entrepreneurs in our own township. To enhance economic sustainability and advance restorative justice. Restorative justice, that in past justices or disadvantages that are still persistent to this date, that prohibit people to enter into business. Barnett spoke about number of, on the ESG slide, he spoke about number of hindrances that we face on daily basis, but then I think, I don't know, we then be afraid to talk about those issues. So this is what we are arguing. We also have in the past, where the Competition Commission of South Africa has issued a heavy fines on number of businesses. We know that in the 2019, they published a study for the retailers, your big retailers, when they come and rent in a particular mall, they will rent a bigger space and they'll close out any other retailer that want to come into that space that will compete with them directly. That is not no longer inclusive, it's an exclusive economic empowerment. The practice in the construction sector and to collude and fix the prices is real and is still happening. Currently, the competition is working on the fresh produce market. What we have learned as SALGA and the local government sector is you have a fresh produce market owned by both privately and by the public sector. But the one that is owned by the private sector, they fix the price. If you come as high TG, you want to come and sell your spinach there, they will give you lesser amount to a big corporate that has been doing business with them, although you deliver the same quantity, the same quality of the vegetable, but the ground is not even. So that's what we are arguing. So we have developed an argument for local government to say perhaps local SCM or local procurement, strategic procurement, to enhance a local multiplier. So, Madam Chair, in your open remarks, at least you covered me that the SME is growing in South Africa. The informal sector is growing in the country, and we need to take cognizance of that. And through the local procurement, we believe that will then promote and increase the local multiplier effect, so that we circulate our rent. What Banele and the Stockfell on Aqua they're doing is to amplify this, that you spend your 100 rand at a local butcher. The local butcher then will pay the employee who will spend at the barber shop. The barber shop will then pay the employee who will spend at the bakery. But the more the rent circulate in a community, the more it gained value. Because what you spend, when you spend 100 somewhere, somebody's going to spend more than 100 rand, because we will be able to pay people, we'll be able to keep our businesses running. So that's important thing that we needed to do. In September last month, we had a conversation with women entrepreneurs. All they said is 3 things for them to grow their businesses. They have an ideas that they need mentoring and coaching to assist them to move from ideation or conceptualization to operationalize the idea, so that they can make profit. As much as they make profit, they are able to then create jobs. We must admit that government, no matter how big it is, it can no longer create jobs because a number of posts have been frozen. There's a moratorium from different provinces, from different municipalities, because then the fiscus of the nation can no longer accommodate. But then through the SMEs, we are saying this is possible to create the jobs that we desire to have. And the SMEs and the informal traders, honestly speaking, are the backbones of this economic development. My last 2 slides, Madam Chair, we're saying this, therefore, the municipal supply chain, this is our argument, the municipal supply chain, they find themselves at the tail end. When we develop tender specifications, there's no SCM person here, but the SCM will come at when we aggregate and do the scoring table. That's it. It doesn't talk to the aspiration of the municipality or the aspiration of the province to say we have X number of SMEs in our database, but how do we then at least help 50% of those SMEs on each and every financial year? And that's the target that we can set ourselves. If it's 20%, it's 20% based on the database that we have. So we really pushing this, and it's going to be a part of our deliberation for the Provincial Members' Assembly that is taking place next month. That really we need to go back and look at the SCM, because doing that, we don't need Parliament, we don't need provincial legislature to endorse on that, but we have those powers that are vested in municipal council to change these policies and say these policies must really talk to the realities of on the ground and support the SMEs. Madam Chair, I think I will pause on this one because once we are able to change our SCM policies at municipal level, therefore we are able to influence the provincial government, because then we'll develop a beautiful case study to say with the little money that we get as local government, therefore we can improve and enhance the enterprise supply development, because we don't want to only build the entrepreneurs to provide the services only within the municipal jurisdiction, but we're building the future entrepreneurs that we can compete locally and internationally. I'd like to pause there. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank Thank you so much for that presentation. As per the chat box, we can see it was very well received. Just a question around, so one of the participants says, are you aware that especially in the metered electricity sector, that SMEs rely heavily on the municipalities? Do you think that municipalities are aware of this dependence?
Yes, we are fully aware. In fact, the electricity and energy sector is one of the sector that create a headache for municipality. We are not generating electricity, but we are merely distributing. So we rely on ESCOM. So the failures of ESCOM impede directly on municipality. When ESCOM say reduce the load of your electricity supply, we rely on ESCOM. If we do not do that, ESCOM will come and take over the load reduction of municipality. We have the cases like City of Ekurhuleni at some point, ESCOM took over and say, we'll then control the load reduction for certain areas. So we rely on ESCOM. At least the law will now enable us to partner with the independent power producers, but it's expensive exercise. So should we go there, it's expensive. It's going to be expensive, even more than what it is now. Thanks.
Thank you. The other question is, in terms of the procurement process within municipality, is preference given to businesses that are within the municipality? So I think maybe let me ask this question. So like, say, for instance, in the Eastern Cape municipality, someone says, we really wish we could have opportunity to work with the Buffalo City Metro municipality. So I just want to know, from a procurement perspective, are businesses that are a part of the municipality given preference over businesses that are not?
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, a lot of people are saying, like one participant said, I wish I could have opportunity within my own municipality to be a supplier. That's in the Eastern Cape. So do municipalities, when they do procurement, is there preference given to businesses that are a part of that specific municipality? So say, for instance, Ekurhuleni, if I have a business, you want the vehicles branded, and my business is in Ekurhuleni, would I be given preference?
Look, that's an ideal situation to say, first, let's start home.
Yeah.
Why should you go outside whereas you have the services that can be rendered at home? It's a common logic that if you are sitting in Meyaten, Midvaal local municipality, and you want to procure a mixed concrete, and you go to Tshwane, that is about 100 and something kilometers, the supplier is going to charge you transport, heavy transport, to transport that. And you are it's not only transport, but you are also creating unnecessary pressure on the infrastructure on our roads. But if you have a supplier next door who would be much cheaper than the supplier in Tshwane, in Pretoria, would be cheaper, you save. It's a win-win situation in our own view. So it should be that to say, let's start home first. But if the policy is silent on that, so I can sit in Ekurhuleni and say, look, I prefer the supplier in City of Johannesburg or the supplier in the Eastern Cape. Just a typical example. Then it then give people a much room to play around and choose their own suppliers. But if then we are very specific on these issues, and also the other thing that is to profile the growing sector in our municipalities and start supporting those sectors. Thank you.
Okay, so we agree that that would be an ideal, and hopefully that, we would see it come into, into actual existence as we, go through the new GNU. But yeah, I think that is an ideal, because when we speak localization, that is actually at the heart of it, that people, even at municipal level, should be granted opportunity instead of looking outside. Colleagues, my next question is for, I think it's for Ntokozo. Okay, let me just summarize what is the ask here. It's referring to the stock file. Perhaps if people would like to know, as you said, there's a next rollout, because the current one is full. How can they be a part of, or is there a vetting criteria for them to be a part of the next rollout?
Hi, Alicia. Should I answer that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Our next Stokvel will be launching because it's been 2 years. Remember, we started as a program from 0 to million in 24 months. And we are on our maybe 20th month now. So now we are going to be starting a new Stokvel that's going to be focusing on retail. And what we've done is we have developed our own Stokvel platform, where it's going to be now much easier for people that are joining in to see their contributions, to see reporting in terms of what we're doing in the Stokvel, because we report in 3 ways. We report in a monthly basis, and quarterly and annually. So with that launch, which is going to happen in a few weeks from now, I'm going to launch it on my social media platforms, Banele Reo, on all social media platforms. And there's going to be a link that will link you to that Stokvel platform to sign up. So that answers a lot of the questions, like access to the constitution, and also those reports, and also the vetting process.
All right. Just in terms of the stock file, okay, I think they're asking, is this a funding model or not?
For ourselves, yes, it is a funding model, and any entrepreneur can start a Stokvel of their own.
Okay, and then the last question for you: do you mentor?
Yes, I do mentor. However, with time constraints, it has to be arranged properly, and the program has to be clear, so I can allocate the time, and also that the target market, who are we talking to, and what do we aim to do. So yes, I do mentor in those conditions.
All right. The rest of there's about 15 of it, just asking for your contact details. I see you have left it in the chat box, so I'm going to share it with the participants. And I think that's the last of the questions there for you. Then Mbali, how does one join the Youth Employment Accelerator? I think you did mention it in your presentation, but maybe in a summarized way, how does one join the Youth Employment Accelerator?
Thanks for the question, Alicia, and to the panel and the audience. So you join through sayouth.mobi. It's a zero-rated platform, meaning that it's free. And when you join, you just need your ID number, your name and surname. And then once you get into the platform, you'll see all the opportunities from entrepreneurship, public employment, and jobs. We also have a toll-free number. if you're struggling to access the platform. I hope that helps.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe if you leave your details in the chat box or just the link of where people can, join, that would help, and I'll share it with all of the participants that have asked the question. All right. I don't think there's any other questions at this point. I think, okay, there's Quasi Books. It's more an ask instead of a question. Three of the participants are saying your work is amazing. It's about time that books are written in a language that is our mother tongue. Will you be extending this to academic books? Perhaps maybe they mean different subjects in school. I'm not too certain exactly academics, but maybe as I said, subjects, different subjects. Will you consider extending this in the future?
Yes, we are actually working around that. Currently, we are doing web books that will be available in our different languages. And we are working with a few schools around making sure that we create safe spaces in different primary schools, private schools, and government schools. And yeah, including libraries and corporate companies.
No, this is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I see there's a lot of exactly the same ask, to say, please, this is something unique, but something so necessary that, books should be available to us in our languages. So thank you for that, Pumzile. And of course, in terms of your books and your programs, if you could also share the details, I'd like to share it with the participants. All right. Colleagues, members, and speakers, I think that is all the questions that have come in. I don't see any other questions. Perhaps if there are others that come in, it will be directed to either Leseko or myself. And then once we receive it, depending on the question and who needs to answer, we will then direct it to you via email. So I think that brings us to the end of our program. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of the speakers. Each of you have brought something so beautiful to the table, especially to address the topic at hand. Our participants are really interested in every one of your offerings, from Quasi Books to the stock felt with and Tokozo, and also to understand the preferential procurement as well as the youth employment accelerator. I will be sending you emails, I suspect, afterwards, because the questions might still come in. But thank you very much for making time to be with us this morning, to take our member companies and other participants through your work. Your work is absolutely amazing, and we appreciate your time and the opportunity to have engaged with you and to learn from you. Thank you so much, speakers. Thank you, members, and thank you, participants, for joining us today. We will share the presentations after this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you and have a lovely day. Goodbye.